Hello and welcome back to Headstrong Season 8. My name is Louis Strong and I host this podcast. Headstrong is a podcast, for those of you who are listening for the first time, is a podcast where I sit down with a number of people in the public eye to talk to them about their experiences in their life so far. And ultimately, I want to talk to them about the word headstrong and what that means to them. And to me, it means to believe in yourself, to talk about your vulnerabilities and reinforce your self-worth, which I hope you will feel by the end of the podcast. Joining me on Season 8, Episode 4, are James and Clair Buckley. Now, James is of course known for playing the role Jay in The Inbetweeners. But James and Clair are a wonderful couple, and I sat down and I talked to them about their upcoming book, which is coming out on the 29th of September. But I talked to them about parenthood and what that was like, the apprehensions before becoming a parent, as well as their wise words for all those new parents out there and people who are parents to be. And we also talked about school and all those important trips. But most importantly, we talked about the mental health as a parent and how important it is, if you do have the luxury of still being with your partner, your husband, your wife, to talk to them and lean on them. It's really important to have that synergy. And if you don't have that person, that partner, be sure to talk to the right people, because it's very, very easy as a parent, as James and Clair were telling me, to get burnout, to get stressed, to be exhausted and tired, because you are, of course, looking after these children. So I really hope you enjoy this episode of Headstrong. But first, a note from our sponsors, RCK Partners, who specialise in helping UK businesses claim R&D tax relief across the engineering, agricultural and tech space. Now, if you'd like to find out more about this valuable source of funding for your business, head to rck.partners or just click the link in the podcast description below. That's rck.partners. Now, let's crack on with the episode. James and Clair, thank you so much for joining me on Headstrong. How are you both?
Hello.
Good, thank you. Thanks for having us. How are you? How are you getting on?
Yeah, not too bad, actually. Friday afternoon is, if I'm going to set the scene to our listener, hot and sweaty, rushing around. But it is what it is. But James, sounds slightly better than your day yesterday by the sounds of things.
Yeah, I just went for it's rare. It's a rare occasion, I just went out for a drink Wednesday night and didn't feel too great Thursday.
I think it probably more so with you, it gets rarer and rarer as a parent, where you get that opportunity to let your hair down and you want to enjoy yourself. And probably the line becomes blurred of when you go, oh, when should I have my last drink? And you go, one more.
That's it. You get all excited.
You do. You get too excited. That's the problem.
What happens is that you end up drinking a lot at the start.
Yeah, and then you're done.
This
what, to make up for it? Like,
well, that's it.
You just get so excited. Oh, it's a day. It's a day away, because they are so few and far between. That's what is sort of become known in this house as a Clair special. I get so excited for a little day out or a night out, and then I'm home by 8 p.m, ruined the party, feeling terrible.
We've all been there. We've all been there. It's definitely a insert your name here special.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I'm very excited to chat to you both today. Both successful people in your own right, but notably authors. Now, how very exciting. So tell me about your new book, the inspiration behind it.
Inspiration behind our book was a publisher got in contact with us and said, do you fancy writing a book? And the pair of us were like, I think it's...
First we said no. We were like, no, don't be silly.
Yeah, but then your ego takes over and you think, yeah, I'd like to have a book with my name on it. That sounds like something that would be fun. And then you sort of go off and you make it and you enjoy doing that and have fun with it and completely forget that eventually people will hopefully read it. And
then it becomes terrifying.
We sort of just, we never sort of considered that part of the deal. It was just, it was like giving some fun homework. It was like, do you fancy doing this at home? You go, yeah, all right then, yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
But it's an actual book. It's a proper, real book. And, talking about it now, it's frightening.
Very.
Surreal experience to know that that's coming out soon.
Oh,
Really
absolutely.
surreal, yeah, really
absolutely.
odd.
I just put it actually today. I've been doing loads of housework and I just cleaned out the boys' little playroom, and we've got a sort of little mock book just that we had to sort of use to show people on the vlog and stuff. And I sat it up on Harrison's little shelf, and he sort of looked at it and we both just had a little moment being like, yeah, that's still weird that this exists, isn't it? Because his little feet are on it, and it's just sometimes if you think about something like that too much, it can make you feel a bit weird.
Yeah, absolutely. James, how does it compare to, obviously, as an actor, you come out and you're physically seen on screen or, always on screen, weirdly enough, actually, or in person on stage, but that's you as a character. This is for both of you, and indeed as a family, content that is personal. How does that compare? What's that feeling like? Because you're kind of exposing yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. It is. You do feel exposed. I mean, the great thing about what I do for a job is that people, a lot of people think I'm funny, which isn't true. I'm just funny when people have written funny things for me to say. So you get to go on television and make a TV show, and everyone thinks that you're great, but they don't know you at all whatsoever. So now I'm in a situation where I'm putting this thing out where people might read it and go, this guy is a pain in the arse. And obviously I'll have to take that very personally because it isn't a character this time. It is just me.
Claire, did you find it easy writing? Is it something that you find natural, from school and stuff, pen to paper? Well, probably hands on a keyboard, but what was that experience like?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. I do really enjoy writing, and actually pen to paper was how I did quite a lot of it. I prefer that. I used to get into trouble. Obviously we had this amazing guy helping us, and he always used to say, if you write it down, then you then have to type it up and send it to me. But I was getting to the point where I would just send him pictures of my written pages. I hated typing for some reason, but yeah, if it's something that you plan on doing, I guess you got to get used to the computer. Also, just much, it's quite difficult to write a book when you've never written anything before in your life. So you have to have someone. You don't have to. I mean, hopefully, if we get to do more of these in the future or something, we'll be able to, see. It's just things like structure and stuff like that, and where to put places and things, which is quite. I've got no experience, so it was nice having someone help us with that and try and make sense. We rambled on and told our stories and things that we thought were funny and all that sort of stuff. And Nathan, the guy who helped us, was brilliant, and he would take everything that we said and sort of say, okay, well, let's put it in this order or that order, and sort of helped us make it into an actual book and not just a lot of pages of
otherwise
nonsense.
It would just be scribbled pages that you've pictures of it that you've sent to the publisher.
Oh, he looks so cute. Did you have any arguments writing it? Was there any that's too much, you can't say that, or actually it was quite harmonious?
We actually did our own, really, because there's sort of personal bits on each side and our own thoughts on things that we sort of did quite separately.
Yeah, a lot of it was done quite separately. There's a lot together of us. They're pretty much almost transcribed conversations. It's almost like a script, the stuff with just us. Just trying to capture that sort of
back and forth. But some of it Nathan took just from these Zoom calls where we would be talking about what we wanted to do, and he was actually including this in the book, because it was us just sort of arguing or being kind of back and forth with each other, and that actually ended up in the book, some of it, which was quite funny.
Yeah, but most of it is like we've just got our own sections that we handled. I'm really looking forward to reading Claire's stuff, I've got to be honest. I can't wait for it to come out.
Okay, shoot. What's the release date, please?
Did we work that out? 29th?
It is the
29th.
29th. 29th of this month.
Yeah.
29th of this month. Yeah, no, literally. God. Oh, no, God, no.
Oh, no.
How very exciting. Look, guys, I'm sure it will be an absolute sellout, so I'm wishing you the best of luck with that. But now let's swing on to your parenting, which, of course, the book contains. Yeah. Claire, first to you. Let's talk about motherhood, if we can. Absolutely. Was this something, before you became a mother, a few years ago, was it something that you craved? Was it something when you were growing up, you thought, do you know what? I really want to be a mother. Or were you kind of by the by?
Yeah, no, I was probably more...
Be honest.
If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I was never one of those young girls, or even in my teenage years, that was, I can't wait to be a mum, I can't wait to be a mum, can't wait to be a mum. Until I met James, which is, one of those soppy things.
Just got that charm.
But
look at me. So when you look this good hungover, imagine what I'm like on one of my 10 out of 10 days.
Yeah. When are they? Yeah. When I met James, it did all just sort of fall into place. And then I did sort of think, I could see me and James making some cool little people. The funny thing is, the one thing that I do remember, and my mum always sort of brings this up when we're chatting about the boys, is when I was maybe about sort of 12, 14-ish, I used to say that, I'm not that bothered, but if I did have kids, I think I want 2 boys, which is what I got. So It's sort of, me and James went through a phase a few years ago now, sort of wondering, do we try for a girl? Do we have a third? Or are we finished? And that conversation actually kept coming up, where I would say, I always wanted 2 boys, and I've got 2 boys, and they're happy and healthy. And sometimes you just sort of think, you know what, we got what we wanted. We'll stop there and we'll be grateful for what we've got. And so, it's a little sort of cosmic feeling about it. Yeah. But I love being a mum. I love it.
It's the first time I've heard you say cosmic.
I'm down with the kids.
There we go. Did you guys have any kind of apprehension before becoming parents? Like, 'cause it's a daunting prospect. I'm not a parent yet. I mean, I've got a dog. That's probably as far as I can get for now.
They're harder.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to change a nappy. But, in terms of that apprehension, what were those feelings like before you became a parent? Were you nervous, excited, or did you have the support of your parents, both of you? What was that like?
It is really nerve-wracking, because it is just a big change in your life. Things will never be the same. You'll now be a parent.
I think before, when I was pregnant, though, we never really had that feeling. We were just really excited, especially with Harrison. Yeah. But then when he came along, remember that night we got into the flat?
Yeah, we got into our flat and laid him down on our bed.
We had been in Scotland for a few months. So he was still a tiny baby, but we went back home.
This was the first time that we were left alone with him. And we were just like, right, now we've got to keep this guy alive. Like, this is... And that was
a little bit scary.
That was the bar that I set, basically. I was just like, if I can we'll take it one day at a time.
Keep him hydrated.
Just don't drop him or anything, and keep him fed and watered.
A lot more can you do?
Walk him every now and again. It's a lot like a dog. It's a lot like having a dog. So you're not too far. But again, it depends. It depends what sort of bar you set for yourself as well, because obviously, there's other things to worry about.
Yeah, can I just say, I set the bar higher.
And things like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I think what changes when you're talking about sort of being apprehensive about stuff and things like that, I think, yes, you do obviously feel nervous, and, you're in charge of a little person. But I think thinking back, the first time a rash appears, or, he starts to feel a bit unwell, and then you really see a change in yourself. I mean, if you get a rash, you're like, oh, I'll sort that out. When your when something happens or you think something's wrong with your baby, it's just a whole other feeling.
Especially the first one as well, because they seem, I mean, obviously you assume that babies are so delicate and fragile, and obviously they're tiny little things, but they're also, I think, a lot tougher than what we think they are. So when it is just like a rash, or they've got a runny nose or something like that, you're at action stations, like call the doctor.
Because it's your offspring. You're like, I must protect them at all costs. That protective act,
that's the biggest difference. Yeah, like the instincts as well. They sort of come. One of our friends has had a baby, and I was talking to him about sort of instincts where, she's just starting to walk, and they're doing something, they're going to fall when you're ready, and it's like it just comes to you. You're just there, you just know what to do, which is weird.
Okay, let's assume that James's piece of advice is keep them fed and watered. Claire, what would be your piece of advice to any potential new parents? A baby that's about to come. That is good advice. It's absolutely sound and foolproof. But I didn't know if there was maybe a little bit more depth for both of you, James.
Obviously, you can get into it more if you want, but I'm keeping things simple.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid. I like that.
For new mums or expecting
for expecting parents who literally don't realise that they're never not going to be a mum or a dad again.
I would say enjoy it. And it's such a cliche thing to say, but my God, does it go quick. Even when you're right in the middle of it and there's nappies everywhere and the dishes aren't done and you feel like it's this never-ending mess that you're in and you're knackered, and it's hard at the time, but try and enjoy it, because I would love to go back to those days.
And the good thing is as well is that you're pretty much only really left with the good memories.
Oh yeah.
You don't really remember the house being completely upside down and being so unbelievably tired and literally, up to your knees in shit. So you sort of forget all of that, but you remember the first time they start crawling, or the first time they start gurgling and trying to say words, and that's the stuff that you remember. And I suppose we're hardwired to, because if you remember all the other stuff as well, you probably just stop at one. So, I mean, it gets to a point where you do go, oh, we could do that. Do you remember that? Oh, we could do that again. Oh, it was so great, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, that would be my enjoy it. Enjoy every little daft moment, because it honestly is so fast.
I enjoy that a lot. Now, something I want to talk about with you both in particular is bringing children into life when you have a spotlight on you, because it's not something that many people in this world would get to experience. When I don't mean that in a good way or a bad way, it's just by the by, it is what your lives are, being in the public spotlight. Was there apprehension in that regard, and kind of the conversation around privacy?
I don't.
We had this conversation really early.
Yeah, we had there was a brief conversation. The thing is, right, is that even though I've been on television or whatever, me and Claire are just normal people. We don't really have to consider our privacy that much, because we've never really made a deal out of it, or it's never really been a problem for us. I mean, I think there's different levels of spotlight, and it's what you have, it's what you want for yourself. And we were always, as James says, even when the TV shows he was in were big and there was movies and all that sort of stuff, when we were private, like we were never sort of out and about, or it wasn't
doing the celeb
it was never really a problem. And it depends on what road you want to go down. I mean, if you do feel it's important for your career that you need to have your picture taken while filling the car up and stuff like that, which I totally get, I understand. I'm not having a pop at those people. It all serves a purpose, but we never went down that road. I never really spoke to press or anything like that, unless I had
a press tour, I guess.
A reason
or things like that. And actually, which is funny enough, I was actually thinking about this today, because obviously we're talking to you about our book a little bit at the beginning there, because we're trying to sell a book. But this new way of doing stuff, doing like podcasts,
for sure,
is so much more interesting, because you go, I've got a book coming out, and you go, right, brilliant, and then you go off and then you actually have a conversation and you get to talk about other stuff, and I prefer it these days. I love it these days. Used to be you sit in a room.
It was black and white, wasn't it? It was just relentless questions and tiny little changes of words, and you're basically saying the same crap.
Yeah. So now it's nice to actually talk to people and talk to people like yourself in the media, and it feels like it's more controlled as well, and that you don't have to, I don't do some sort of publicity stunt or anything bizarre. You just come and chat to people, and but we've never courted the press. I've never called them up ahead of time, or
but with the kids though, we did make a decision, and people who watch our vlogs know that we just kept them private. We think, it's just the tiny little people, they don't need anybody commenting on them or knowing who they are or that sort of stuff. So just like James says, it wasn't a difficult thing to do. We just didn't.
That's not so much a privacy thing either. I think it's just more of a security thing.
I think as a child, you've even up to the age until they can choose, I think it's unfair to put them in that position when it's not appropriate.
Because you can't, once it's open, you can't put everything back into the box.
Exactly. If it's out, it's out.
Yeah. So
there ain't going back.
So if they get to 17, 18 or whatever, and they decide that that's what they want to do, then that's cool. But
on the other side, though, some people can't. I mean, like some people, like you were saying earlier, their jobs. I mean, this is probably a bad example, and everybody will roll their eyes. But the Kardashians and their kids, I don't see any way of them having the career they have with everybody knowing their kids and having them pictures taken and stuff like that. So again, obviously, it's whatever fits you and whatever's best.
It's all just different preferences, isn't it? You've just got to do what you think is right.
Absolutely.
If you're looking to take advantage of R&D tax credits to boost your business's cash flow, RCK Partners can help you. Simply head to rck.partners or just hit the link in the podcast description below. That's rck.partners. When I say the word family to you both, if you're happy to share, what are kind of the core values of that for you both? Because your family is something that you'll never change in your life, and obviously the most important thing, it's that core. So what are those core values for you both?
I guess it's just, I feel like this is quite a simple answer, but I guess things like trust, and because people will come in and out of your lives as you grow older. And this is what you tell our boys all the time. You two, your relationship, the way that you're related to each other, brothers, is very, very special. And no one else is ever going to be your brother, and you're not going to be anyone else's brother. So you need to be there for each other. You need to always be there for each other. And I think that's what we are as a family. We're a very tight little unit, and we care about each other's happiness very much. And we do have a sort of
all for one,
almost a siege mentality of sort of, it's us against the world. And, there's, as I say, people, friends, and, other people that they might not do something, be in a situation where they're not very nice to you sometimes. And as long as, we've got each other, and we will always have, then no one can really do anything to us, because we
absolutely.
Once you come home and you close the door, as long as us four. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've got loads of great friends and obviously extended family and all that sort of stuff. But when you say family, it's the four of us in the living room playing a board game, watching a movie, chatting, and that's what I think of.
Perfect rainy Sunday afternoon.
Oh, I love it.
There we go. But now it is the beginning of September when we're speaking. which obviously alarm bells ringing. It's back to school time. Here we go.
Yeah.
Are you well prepared in that domain now? Are you happy with that back to school vibe, or are you like, can this summer happen in a couple more weeks?
We
I hate it.
We just like being with the boys. We like having them here with us, and unfortunately, they're going to be in a lot of trouble if it's left up to me to teach them things. So they do have to go to school, and we all understand why they have to go to school. But in a perfect world, I think we would just never leave the house and just hang out with each other for the rest of the time.
But we are organised.
Are we?
Very organised.
Are you?
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Well, while James was in bed hungover yesterday.
It was yesterday, yeah.
Was it a W.H. Smith trip?
Oh, we hit W.H. Smith so hard.
Oh.
You've just moved that bag as well.
I know, yeah.
We, the boys I'd ordered their clothes that they needed earlier on in the summer because that's always a nightmare to try and get. But yesterday we got the lunch boxes and pencil cases and the brand new rulers, and the boys absolutely love doing that. And shoes, we needed shoes yesterday, so we got that done. So we are good to go.
Have you got any good getting ready for school stories? So, something that's really stood out, or maybe that first day when you took them to school. I don't know. Well,
God, the first day back after, so when lockdown happened.
Of course.
Obviously there was homeschooling for God knows how long, a long time. And suddenly it sort of started to ease, and people were thinking about different schools were opening at different times. And anyway, we get the email saying that our school's going to be open such a date. So I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. And I was like, well, the uniforms are still there and whatever. Got to the Saturday before, no, the Sunday. They went back on the Monday, the Sunday before. And I was like, actually, they've not been at school for, I don't know how long we worked it out to be.
It would have been over a year or something like that, yeah. And
I suddenly thought, oh my God, I better make sure their uniforms fit.
Oh no.
And I brought them downstairs and I tried them on, and it was a disaster. You could not stop laughing. Their shirts were like crop top, belly tops. Because you just don't realise how much they grow, especially being at home with them all the time.
They shoot up.
And you realise that through the normal school years because you're putting the uniform on every day. But because I hadn't it just wasn't in my mind.
Just how quickly you sort of can get out of a routine.
So that was horrendous. They had to go back to school wherein they did not look their usual smart little selves. And then that Monday I had to run around all the shops and get them on new stuff. So they were fine the next day, but yeah, that was a disaster. I couldn't believe I hadn't even thought about the fact that they grew over a year.
That's it. You don't consider that, do you? Because
we were just in joggers and pajamas for a year.
I've got trainers that are 15 years old. I don't grow anymore, do I? So you just sort of think
the whole lockdown thing just totally. I don't know why I didn't think of it, but yeah, that was quite funny. When we put them on them and James just looked at them, we had to laugh, otherwise I would have cried.
But also, James, I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of guy that if the trainers, someone says to me, oh, they look a bit, scuffed, you can't wear those out. I'll then go, right, those are my garden shoes. I'll still keep them. They're not going anywhere. They still work.
Yeah, see, no, I'm a bit of a different person. If someone says to me, oh, they look a bit done.
Are you off to office?
I'm thinking about trainers, and no, I find it as a challenge. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to really wear them now. I'm never going to take them off.
And let's be honest, this is me talking about if I tell them they look rubbish.
Oh, you think they don't look good? Well, got news for you.
Just see me in a year and a half.
I've got news for you, baby. Me and the trainers are a package. You knew that?
That is what he does.
You knew that when you married me.
I don't know why you do stuff like that, but he does.
So what about dealing with mental health as a parent? Because I'm well aware, despite not being one, as I want to say, that being a parent and having a job, full-time job, can lead to burnout, stress, and somewhat probably overwhelming, particularly in those early years when it's all new, a new experience. How do you, obviously you have the support of each other, but how do you both make sure you do prioritize your mental health or give each other space, but also time for each other?
It's just really difficult. It's really difficult. I mean, they're all really good points, and I'd love to give you some tips and some answers and stuff. But
no, but it's interesting to see how you feel, I guess.
Yeah, you do. It is a busy time. Starting off, new baby turning up.
Yeah,
it's a very busy time.
Going back in time is, you know, when they were really young, and especially because James was working a lot when they were both young. You know, I had my moments where you would go to the kitchen and have a little cry and just think, oh my God, this is so hard, or phone James when he was away.
But you got to remember as well, like like I was away working or whatever, but for you also, you know, all the chemicals and stuff in the brain changing, and it's tricky.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
I mean, again, like James, I don't think I've got any tips. Probably going back to what I said earlier is just sort of just know that it'll pass, because it can get hard and it can get really overwhelming.
I think I
but
guess,
it will pass.
Yeah, I guess my advice would be is to just acknowledge that it's really tough. It's really hard.
And give yourself the break if you know you need it.
And if you are tired, and if you are stressed, and if you are feeling sad, it's because it's not, you know, it isn't just laughing at a cute little baby 24/7. That's maybe 10% of it. The rest of it is the, you know, trying to keep them alive. That whole bit. And it just give you, I mean, my advice would be to give yourself a break, because there's no parent on the planet that's just going, wow, this is easy, isn't it? Yeah. Can't believe how easy this is.
Even what I was saying about, you know, the dishes piling up and the nappies, and again, like what James is saying, acknowledge it, but don't beat yourself up about it, because, you know, especially maybe today, you know, with Instagram and social media, where everything always looks so perfect, you know, everybody knows it's not, and it's hard for everybody, and just give yourself a break. That's the only way to get through it.
Do you guys give yourself a date night?
Oh,
not really.
No.
Fair enough.
No,
we're quite bad at actually having time together.
I mean, we do like I say, we quite like our children, and
they're welcome on the night. What we
do is we have a date couple of hours where, you know, let's say tonight, for instance, a Friday night, we've just been tidying up the boys' playroom and stuff. So I did say to them, you know, if you're good and you help me, maybe buy a new little movie, and you guys can sit down or get some Roblox time or whatever it might be. And then me and James do like to sit down and watch a movie and get a takeaway or whatever. So I think that's what we consider our date night, even though it's still in the same room or it's in the next room from the boys. It's just about date night to me is more about putting the phones down, you know, getting cozy on the couch, switching off for a bit and just relaxing, rather than getting dressed up and maybe going out for dinner.
It is difficult as well. It's famously difficult because one of you have to watch the children. So it's really hard to have an occasion where where the children are being looked after.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're no different in that
sense.
No,
absolutely. So if you're happy to, before we come on to talk about social media, I just want to talk about fame with you, James, and how that kind of affected you. How did you tackle that when you had people coming up to speak to you? How did that affect you, not necessarily day to day, but internally?
It's odd. It's very bizarre. It's very weird. I never considered being famous or anything like that. And I've got a very low level of fame, but it's still unusual. It doesn't feel very natural. It feels very odd. But I just wanted to be an actor, and more specifically, I just wanted to make people laugh on television. That was always what I wanted to do. I didn't really consider that there might be a chance that people would recognise me if I walked down the street. So it's not something that I really felt or thought too much about at the time. But it it is a bit odd. It is a bit odd because, as you say, I don't like people having maybe a preconception of me or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Which is fine, which is fair enough because...
Well, that's the difficulty with you is people, I have no doubt, will expect you to be a particular character when they meet you. Whereas you're James Buckley, the person, not James Buckley who's playing this person.
Yeah, people...
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, people are just usually very, very disappointed. Do
you get any profanities shouted at you or quotes?
Oh, yeah.
It must be consistent and constant.
Oh, constantly. But listen,
must be difficult around the kids.
Usually people are all right.
That's good.
Yeah,
the good thing about what I would say about James's character is that it is quite well liked from what I see.
Absolutely, sure.
You know, people are always just quite happy to meet him, and James is always happy to meet somebody.
I think I've been very lucky in that that people seem to quite like Jay from the In-Betweeners. So
yeah, sure.
Everyone's usually very nice to me, which is a really lovely way to live your life. I think maybe it'd be different if I was like a soap villain or something like that.
Yeah.
Imagine, yeah.
Yeah, because people they get attacked in the street. And stuff,
they think it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that last week. You horrible.
Yeah. You killed Tiffany. What was you doing?
Unbelievable.
Hey, that was an accident.
Oh, yes.
But the profanities and stuff, usually, again, you get some people who do get quite excited, but again, most people are
quite funny.
Most people are normal people, and if you've got your kids there, they don't tend to say anything.
Absolutely, I think you're right. 99.9% of the general public are going to be sincere and respectful. Absolutely. However, I want to ask you about that 0.1%.
Yeah,
is there a single time that you can remember where you've gone, oh, that was pretty interesting, when you've met someone, or are you actually genuinely?
I think
I don't know, like when you're like in the queue at Disneyland or something. I don't know. Go on, that's a better question. Where's the weirdest place?
It's toilets.
Oh no,
it's toilets.
I'd at least wait till you've come out.
I know exactly.
All right, mate.
I don't, I don't feel comfortable enough to use a urinal anymore at all whatsoever. I haven't used one for years. I've always got to go to a cubicle, because it has happened. Like I'm there.
That's bizarre.
With it out.
Where's the filter?
Trying to talk to me about the In-Betweeners. I'm like, do you want to give me 30 seconds and we'll have this chat?
Oh God. Yeah.
That's outrageous. Oh God. Well, I'm sure you're very respectful when you deal with it. But let's talk about social media then, this big old beast that you obviously have a great following on and found great success on there as well. Let's talk about parenting with social media, because this can divide all sorts of parents. Is this going to be something that you're going to monitor closely when they are a little bit older?
Yeah, see,
it's so difficult, isn't it? Because it's such a vast world with so much that we don't even know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the problem is that social media can be so amazing and such an incredible resource, and but unfortunately, it can also be an awful place. And if you've been on TV or whatever, you will be subjected to that sort of.
Sorry, I put you off.
Yeah, you will be subjected to those attitudes and to those that 1% that you were talking about earlier. So while social media can be brilliant, and unfortunately for people in my position, it's also necessary nowadays, which was something that I started to learn about 10 years ago, when I think we were trying to release the In-Betweeners film in America, which didn't go very well. And a lot of the PR people were like, are you on Twitter? And what's your following like? And and I was like, oh, right, I can see the way the world's going now. This having a social media following, unfortunately, is going to be something that's quite important. And it is. Yeah, it really is. If I wasn't doing the job that I do, I don't think I'd be on social media. I don't think I'd...
Interestingly enough, James, though, it's for you. You don't follow anybody on the likes of Instagram. Is that's obviously a conscious choice from you? Is it so you don't even go on the app?
No, it's just nonsense. The people that the people that I'm interested in, I have their phone number, or
of course,
talk to them. And there was a long time before Twitter, and we all managed to sort of get on.
Everyone managed to get along. Okay, yeah.
We managed to contact people, or get in touch with people just fine without it. Yeah, unfortunately, it was just that 1%, that sort of, I guess it's like, if you watch, do you remember, you remember Big Brother?
Yeah, of course.
Probably the first big sort of reality TV hit in the UK that really, really took off. So after a few years of Big Brother, the crowd outside started to realise something, that you didn't just have to cheer people anymore, that you could boo them and you could tell them what you think of them, and they've been on television, so they're fair game for me to tell them exactly how much I hate them and stuff like this. And that attitude has just carried on and got even more worse. Like, you rarely used to see booing at a football match or booing in crowds and stuff like this, but now it's just absolutely fine to be able to say whatever you're thinking, whenever you're thinking it, no matter whose feelings you hurt or how mean you might come across. It's your thoughts and your feelings, and you've got the right to say them, which is absolutely fine and is true. I just subscribe to the, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all rule.
Yeah. Good old. Go on.
Yeah, I think is probably more important in social media as well. There's no reason to, if you don't like somebody's picture, to say something mean, which I don't get. And
but this is the problem. Social media can be so much fun. Yeah. You can be so creative with it, and you can. There's so many funny sort of quick little videos and or interesting things that people are doing with art and digital art and stuff like that. And unfortunately, I just don't think it's worth it for me personally to be a part of that world as much as I'd like to, because I'm just fed up of people being mean to me. It's complete strangers. And it's usually like adult men for some reason. It's like usually like not even kids. Like sometimes go, well, it's a 12-year-old boy like trying to get some attention off someone from television. Like he's still trying to work out who he is, bless him. He'll work things out. It's usually like middle-aged men, like, and they'll say something awful to you, and then in their profile bio it will say #be kind, and you're like, what, mate? Come on. They'll be like, I really care about mental health, and then you're like, Buckley, you prick. What's going on here?
Oh, dear,
so it's
a double-edged sword, isn't it?
It is a double-edged sword. It's a huge minefield. Me personally, I would try and keep my kids away from it as much as possible.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But they are their own people, and they need to be able to do, what you need to do in this day and age, to an extent. When they get, like you say, when they're old enough, when they get to that point. But it's different as well, because I'm sure, once they move up to their next school and stuff.
Exactly. Kids are out running around 11, 12, 13, constantly on Snapchat, Instagram, doing the works.
But I think what James is saying is right. When it gets to that time, and you want to protect them, but you don't want them to be left out of what everybody else is doing. So again, I think it's just about monitoring, about keeping on top of it, about as much as you can, about, in open and honest, I think is the best thing. I think when they get to that age, and when you're sort of starting to think about mobiles and social media accounts and stuff, you got to be like, listen, there's some people who, maybe aren't who they say they are. There's some people who say things that aren't appropriate or this or that, and you got to come and you got to be honest, and you got to, it's just about trying to take the steps to make sure they understand it and they're safe. However, I think schools nowadays, obviously we never needed that at school, but I think schools nowadays, I know that the boys do online safety and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's sort of in the curriculum now because it is something that's unavoidable, which is great to see in schools.
So, as we start to wind down, what is the future then? What is the future? We've got the book coming out very excitingly on the 29th of September, At Home with the Buckleys. You can go pre-order it now. What do you reckon? Do you reckon there might be a sitcom coming out from the book? Do you think there's some classic Buckley stories in there that could work?
I just think at the stage of my life that I'm at, that I'm open for those things, and they if it's a fun idea or something, then I think I'd consider it. It'd have to be a fun idea, obviously.
Remunerated as well.
Yeah, I think maybe sort of 10 years ago or something. When you're, in your early 20s, and I think of myself back then, and I was an actor, and I was serious about what I do, and I had goals, and I had things I wanted to do in life, and now I'm in my mid-30s, and I'm a dad, and I'm married, and I've got no one left to sort of try and impress anymore or anything like that. So I'm just, what are you looking like that for?
Okay, I sounded impressing, but carry on.
No, well, you're naturally impressed by me every day. But don't roll your eyes.
Can they hear eye rolls?
That was a serious eye roll.
That doesn't work on audio. But now I'm just.
You're a bit more open and a bit more relaxed.
Less seriously, and just if something comes along and I go, oh yeah, that'll be fun. I would never have done a book a few years ago.
I think I would have got all anxious, and I would have worried about it. I would have talked myself out of it, but now the same for the play that you just did.
Exactly, yeah. So now I just feel say yes a bit more. Just go for it. What's the worst that can happen?
Great attitude. Love that.
And I think we are just having fun. I mean, our YouTube channel, At Home with the Buckleys, it started off in lockdown. It was just a silly little thing where James wanted to be a bit creative, and he was kind of losing his mind being at home and not working. And he said, and James knows a couple of YouTubers, and he was like, let's do it. It'll be a laugh, whatever. I was terrified, obviously, because I'd never done anything like that before. And James had his own YouTube channel and stuff. But we sort of jumped in. We gathered this little audience that we've got, who I feel like I know quite well, and they know us quite well, and they're quite involved in the vlogs, and we chat back and forth with them, and it's just fun. It's really, really fun at the minute, and it's exciting to see where we can go and what we can do. We've actually just set up a couple of little dates to go and meet people who have want to talk about the book and the YouTube channel and all that. And to go back to what James was saying about social media, I'm sort of on the other side of it, where I'm quite new to it, because I never really used it up until we had the YouTube channel, really. So I'm only sort of a few years in, and I've got all the people who watch the vlog, and, I chat to them, and they send me pictures of stuff that for my kitchen that they're like, oh, Claire, you'll love this. And so I'm really enjoying it at the minute, and I can't wait to see what else we can do. Yeah, it's fun.
So exciting. Awesome. Guys, my final question I ask all my guests is, what does the word headstrong mean to you?
Ooh.
I guess...
Careful.
Well, the word headstrong is sort of like, what? I'm not going to say anything rude. You're gonna say.
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything rude, Claire.
Okay.
But I'm just sort of like word association. Doesn't it mean like sort of not changing your mind and being quite stubborn?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way of looking at it. Absolutely. I mean, it depends what I want to know what you think of it. In terms of, many people do have this negative idea of what headstrong is.
I didn't.
But I see it very much as a kind of an empowering opportunity to kind of take ownership of your mind and, really
that's more
take
what
control.
I think.
Believe in yourself,
If somebody says, oh, Claire's very headstrong, I would take that as a compliment. I would feel like they meant that I know what I want, do what I want, and I'm happy with how I do it. And but I suppose James is right. There is a little bit of a negative spin on that.
I'm just not very strong mentally, so I don't... and that's fine.
That is fine.
That's what I'm here for.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I've never, I don't know, I've never really been very strong mentally, have I?
I don't know. You make up your mind on stuff.
I can
and you
make my
think
mind
you're
up on
right
stuff,
and...
but also I do. There's a lot of questioning going on and double guessing myself and.
Well, you're a good bluffer then.
I think a lot of us are like that, though, James. In that way as well, you must have coping mechanisms that you have where you go, right, if I'm having a little bit of a down day or a time where I'm questioning myself, what I'll do is I'll take Hamilton out for a walk. I'll chuck a podcast on. I'll come back and I go, right, I've had my fresh air. I've had exercise. I've actually managed to switch off for a bit, almost like you've tricked yourself into changing it up. You must, what do you do? Pick up a guitar, go play the Xbox? I don't know.
Again, I think this is when we're good because, like we were saying about being a little unit, I think me and James, without getting too soppy, I think we're a really good little team as a couple, where if he's having his down days, it's up to me to even, like, sort of going back to the play that he was doing. Hold on once.
We've had the bin man's just out that.
Oh, perfect.
When James was doing his play, it was a huge thing and it was really daunting, and he did start questioning himself and I don't know if I can do this and that sort of thing. So that time period was for me to be like, no, you can do this. Let's go.
Oh, is that what you said?
Let's go and work on your lines, and same for James. It's going way back again, like I was saying about when the kids were younger and I was just mum 24/7, and that's when James would have to step in and be like, you're doing great, it's fine, relax. And, so I think, again, it's about listening to yourself. If it's a couple, listening to each other, just giving yourself a break and making sure.
Definitely think
talking about it as well.
I definitely think talking is
great.
We're obviously we're very lucky in that we've got each other.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that don't. So I mean, finding someone to talk to, a friend, a family member, someone professionally.
Or even like you said, Louis, putting on a podcast.
Well, that's the reason I started it. It's actually to create that community, an anonymous platform, hearing people like yourself being open and honest and actually inspiring them to feel like they can go and talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I think, as you said earlier, the first most important step is accepting it. The next stage is talking about it. And ultimately, it's just someone who's willing to listen, be that a professional, be that an anonymous charity helpline, be that an amigo, be that your partner in crime, whoever it is, there is somebody that is going to listen to you. And I think that's really important to reinforce.
It's so bizarre how just physically saying something or even writing something down, writing feelings down.
You can literally feel the physical weight come off you.
It is really strange. It is, and it does help so much having someone there that you can just go, this happened to me today and I feel like this. And 9 times out of 10, they're not going to go, well, I've got some advice for you, or I know how to stop that from happening or whatever. But even if they just go, oh man, yeah, that was rubbish. You go, yeah, it was rubbish. But just the actual physical act of expelling it out of your body really does. It just makes such a huge difference with those things that are worrying you.
And it's amazing how it's all mental, but your body is so tense. And when you actually do release it, you're like, also you could just become exhausted, don't you? Your body is just like, it's like that release, like all over.
And also knowing that it's not a huge deal to do that, because sometimes when you're speaking about stuff like this and it's like, talk to someone and do this and do that, but knowing that that can be for, the littlest thing, whether it is standing in your kitchen and crying and feeling that you're just overwhelmed, it doesn't mean that, you're going crazy or you're that. It's just about those little feelings every day that can get on top of you, and it doesn't have to be this huge big deal. It's just like what James says, just sitting down and just getting it out in whatever way you feel works for you.
And sometimes, I know what it's like when you go, oh, I don't want to burden the people I love with all this nonsense going on in my head. Sometimes the people that are closest to you are the last people that maybe you want to talk to, because you don't want to bring them down with you or something, or have that kind of mentality. So as you say, there's professionals, there's anonymous phone, free phone call, people that you can call on a free phone number and stuff, and just saying stuff has helped me in the past with things that I've been worrying about in my head. So that
Claire, James, thank you so much. Really, it's been so lovely for such a nice conversation. Thank you for being so honest. And guys, go check out the book.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having us on and, for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, we appreciate it. This was really fun. It was really nice.
And that concludes this 4th episode of the 8th series with James and Clair Buckley. I just wanted to extend my gratitude and thanks to them both for being wonderful guests. It was the first time that I've ever interviewed 2 people at the same time. And whilst it was a daunting prospect, I feel like it went all right. I think the conversation went rather well, to be honest. And I think that they spoke really poignantly and said some really important things as parents who are so clearly in touch with their mental health and prioritise it in their home. Please do hit subscribe. Please do rate the podcast. Share it with your friends and your family if you've enjoyed it. It really, really helps. And I just want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in. I will see you next week for another episode of Headstrong.